So you know what you want to do. You have a clear roadmap. You've started working on your project and perhaps even managed to get something out the door. You finally understood how to remove friction from your work. You are certain that you know how to connect to your own specific truth. And now comes the hard part. How do we do it again? How do we do it over and over? How do we stay consistent? So number one, you have to create systems. Being consistent hinges on having solid systems. These systems have to be easy to create, maintain, and access. Now, a system basically is a collection of habits that work together and bounce off each other. They are going to help you reduce the obstacles and the difficulty of getting started on a task.
For example, I have a morning routine, which can be considered a system. I wake up, walk the dog, have breakfast, all in the same order. You can watch that video here. These systems can integrate tasks with each other and help you achieve your goals. My morning routine system helps me get started on work, which is something I struggle with a lot.
Now you have to understand that as far as habits are concerned, they take about 3 weeks to solidify. So habits are great and helpful and they take a little work to nail down, but habits need to be flexible.
Habits have to be flexible in the sense that you can create a system around the project that you are trying to work on. And then you need to be able to modify or allow it to grow in a different way that you were intending.
So for example, I'm working on this YouTube channel thing here, and the idea is to be able to upload 1 video per week. So I need some sort of system to help me achieve the consistency I need to get to that 1 video per week goal. The system I use is very simple. I assign specific tasks to specific days. So I'll work on these tasks every day for a few hours.
So for example, I write the script on Wednesday, shoot the main footage on Thursday, I add B-roll and music on Friday, and then I'll finish editing on Monday. I want to create a hard schedule where these videos go live every Tuesday. So on Tuesdays, I just check the performance and analytics, and maybe I'll get ice cream.
I'm on episode 9 of this journey, so I think I'm way past the 3-week limit. Now, remember when I said that you need habits to be flexible? The reason for that is because of how we tend to treat ourselves if these habits fail. Like, if I fail to finish the script on Wednesday, that could throw my entire system off track. And if I'm not mindful about this, it could get me to throw the entire project out altogether. For example, let's say we've tried to be consistent on a project and we've worked on it for 2 weeks and we fail on the 3rd week. Out goes the baby with the bathwater. Do we have B-roll for that? No, just wonder. So we have the tendency to say that it's over, that of course we couldn't do it because we suck and we are losers. And quitting prevents consistency. I know, mind-blowing.
And a large part of why we do this to ourselves is because we spend an entire life hearing this sort of thing from other people. Parents, teachers, friends, colleagues.
If you had more discipline, if you tried harder, if only you cared. And it all gets distilled down into your subconscious where it manifests as this sort of flail that we use to whip ourselves into an action.
And again, when it comes to consistency, that kindness to yourself needs to be there constantly because it's otherwise very easy to fail. All work, all projects lean towards failure. Part of the work is to make sure they continue standing straight. So thinking this failure is your fault and not the natural order of things will break you. And you may end up concluding that since you failed once, you are not designed to be consistent. And we quit. I know I quit.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because sometimes we end up creating systems with way too many moving parts. And the moment it fails, we blame ourselves, supported by the overwhelming documented evidence out there that we are inconsistent, provided by the outside factors that have blocked you before, the people who have told you this before.
Number 2, you need to have flexibility. You need to have the flexibility to, when the system collapses, step back and figure out why.
The system collapses not because you suck. The system collapses because you added something in there that makes it a little bit more difficult to keep up with. So you have to remove that one thing. You have to remove that friction. And I've talked about that on a previous video that I'm going to link for you right here. There's an element in your system that's adding extra work or mental load or complicating things unnecessarily. Maybe you're using an app that's difficult to open. Maybe you're using a tool that's complicated to access. It could be a million things, but stepping back and looking at your system from above will eventually provide the answer.
So when you get that system, try to stick with it for 3 weeks. If you can, then congratulations, you have a new system that can help you with consistency. If you can't, then you need to identify why. What happened? What did I do? What element in this system is complicating things to the point that I can't get this thing to work?
When I was younger, I had this idea of pushing out a webcomic every day of the week. Because if Bill Watterson can do it, why can't I, right? So I set up a system for it, and it lasted a grand total of, I want to get this right, 1 week. So what was the problem? The problem was that I didn't include any time within the system to write scripts. I was winging it just so that I could get to drawing as soon as possible.
So after a week of doing poor off-the-cuff scripts for these comics, I burnt out because the quality of the strips was not good. And if there was no time allocated for scripting, how much time do you think I allocated to taking a step back and learning from what I was doing? None at all. So the system collapsed, and I blamed my own incapacity for work for it.
Number 3, you need to evaluate your purpose. You need to really analyze the thing you're trying to do, the thing you're trying to be, the thing you want to be consistent at. Because it may not be what you want to do, or it may be something you are doing for the wrong reasons.
For example, going to the gym. Let's say you're trying to create a system that helps you to go to the gym, but for some reason it's not sticking. Something in the system is not working. It could be because the gym is too far, or you don't know what sort of exercises you actually need to do, or you don't actually feel like you even need to go. So you need to ask yourself, is this really what I want to do? Or do I just want to look good, feel better, and maybe there's something else that I could do? Maybe I could sign up for a sport instead, like tennis or swimming, or a team sport where you have to talk to and interact with people.
Hey, you do you. So if you take anything away from this video, understand this. Sometimes consistency fails not because you're a loser. You're not. Sometimes consistency fails because the system you implemented is too complex to maintain. Figure that out first before you go calling yourself names again. Finally, the last thing you want to take into consideration when it comes to consistency is protecting the activity. Protecting your time means protecting yourself. See, when you want to be consistent about a project and you start working on it and you start making progress on it, eventually you'll have a birthday to attend to, you'll have to go to an after-work event, or you have to take care of your sister's cat, whatever. A lot of these things will get in the way, and they can knock the system out of balance, and the system might collapse. So part of the requirement for a system to work is to protect it, to protect the time you've allocated working on it.
It's very easy for people to look at these things from afar and be like, if you're not in an office, or you're not in the middle of your commute, or you're not actually hanging out with somebody else, they tend to believe that that time is free time and you are free to do something else.
And you do need to be very serious about this. If this is what I want to do, then this time is sacred. The time I've allotted to get this system to work cannot be moved.
Interruptions are normal and expected, but you cannot allow people to come in and disrupt your project time, your creative time, just because they don't understand that that time is not free time. It is time that you have set aside for your creative project. And it might look like nothing because, like I've mentioned before, when you do things like writing novels or coming up with, I don't know, video game ideas, a lot of it is not writing. A lot of it is not typing on the keyboard. A lot of it is staring at the ceiling, thinking of what comes next in the scene. And a lot of people will not understand that that's work. And yeah, it's difficult to tell friends and family that you're not available at times because it involves boundaries. And I'm just going to take a wild guess here and assume that some of you, much like me, aren't really great at those. But boundaries are part of the work that you need to be doing for yourself. You have to be able to make people understand that this is important to you. I have a project, I have a thing I want to do, and it takes this amount of time and this part of my day. And every single Wednesday of every week, I am going to try to work on it. And when you can't, when you sit down to try to record your album or write your novel or learn how to paint, and suddenly you're unable to, and inspiration just doesn't come, it still counts as work. And you don't get to feel bad for not producing a single line of text in the time that you've allotted for yourself. So to recap, create a system, give it flexibility, reevaluate its purpose, and protect your time. This will create the proper conditions for you to be able to eventually be consistent. This is not a magic spell. This needs work, and you need to stick with it and change what isn't working. I am uploading new videos every week, and I have to say, I'm actually really surprised and honored that as a very small channel, people have written very heartfelt, deep messages in the comments. Sharing your journey is scary, but it also helps understand we are not alone. And there are a lot of us out there going through the same things. So please do chime in below. Tell me what you need help with. What sort of system haven't you been able to keep up with? What project are you currently working on that you need consistency with? Maybe we can help.